Welcome back. Today I'm going to do a video on Alexa Philippou's bracket for the tournament, for this coming tournament. I think it starts tomorrow. But yeah, really excited to see what her breakdown is. I read a lot of her articles on ESPN.com, so pretty curious what she has to say.
All right, let's get started with the first round. Nothing too complicated here. I got South Carolina advancing and staying undefeated going into the second round. North Carolina, Michigan State is an interesting one. North Carolina can be very inconsistent, but I think they're going to be good enough to get to that second game and get this rematch going again.
I agree with that. I wasn't sure about North Carolina, Michigan State, but I do agree with that.
It's the Gamecocks. Oklahoma, Florida, Gulf Coast. Those 5-12 games can be tricky, but you know what? I'm going to take the Sooners. They won the Big 12 regular season for a reason, and I'll have them advancing against the Eagles. Indiana over Fairfield, even though Fairfield has only one loss. I think Indiana's just too good, and if Mackenzie Holmes is back, they're going to have no problem getting to that second round. And we go down, and we have a really interesting Nebraska-Texas A&M matchup. I think Nebraska is going to be working off that momentum it got from the Big Ten tournament, and they're going to advance over Texas.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think Texas A&M is going to be better.
A&M, Oregon State Beavers, I have easily getting to the second round as they host in Corvallis. And then Ole Miss Marquette. Marquette has been a little bit disappointing this year. I think a lot of people would say. And Ole Miss, they've played some really tough SEC teams close, so I have them beating the Golden Eagles. Notre Dame, even with their shorthanded bench, I'm going to have going to the second round as well.
Absolutely.
I could get them to actually go there. There we go. Let's move on to the Regional 4. Texas, number 1 seed.
Absolutely.
Advancing over Drexel. I'm going to say that
Florida State.
Well, why not pick Tanaya Latson?
Yep.
This is her first NCAA tournament. I think that she'll go off and show people what she's about. These are 2 3-point shooting teams, but Alyssa Peely is going to be impossible for South Dakota State to stop. So I have them advancing as well. Gonzaga, they have 30 wins on the season, and they lost their title game, the WCC tournament, but they're going to be going off on a high note coming off of that. So I have them advancing to the second round as well. All right, Tennessee. I think everyone agrees that what Tennessee did against South Carolina was so impressive in the SEC tournament, and they're going to keep rolling from there. So they're going to take down a tough Green Bay team. Don't sleep on Green Bay, but I think Rakia Jackson will get it done.
Yeah.
NC State over Chattanooga.
Most likely.
I have advancing. And then this is a very interesting matchup to me. Maryland obviously had that big upset over Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, but I love Iowa State's freshmen. And they don't have NCAA tournament experience, but
they're not going to win.
Maybe that'll help, Just don't feel the pressure as much. So I have Iowa State advancing. Stanford, I have advancing too, getting to that second weekend. And then we go to our new regional. All right, we're headed now to Regional 2 in Albany, the region of death, as they say. So I have Iowa advancing to the second round over Holy Cross. Really interesting.
The region of death? Jesus, that's so dramatic, but kind of.
9 game here with 2 defensive-minded teams, but I got Princeton winning their first-round game for the 3rd year in a row. And then I have Colorado as again, really interesting 5-12, but I'm going to go with Colorado. I love their experience. They start a lot of 5th-year seniors and, other seniors. And then we have Kansas State beating the upset-minded Portland Pilots. We go down now to the next part of the region. I have Louisville advancing to the second round because it's Jeff Walz, and he wins in March. What can you say? LSU...
I think so, but also he's said some things recently about his team, and they're borderline inappropriate. And I wonder if he's gonna be he'll be able to motivate them, because I would be really resentful.
Advancing to the second round as well, I have Creighton beating UNLV.
Really?
That would be a big win. That's a 30-win UNLV team, but Creighton knows a little thing or two about deep March runs. Then we got UCLA.
Yeah.
Advancing against California Baptist. We go now to the Region 3 in Portland. USC will have no issues against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We have really interesting 8-9 game. I'm going to go with Kansas here, the Jayhawks.
Yeah, I would too.
Go with a little chalk there, but kind of interesting. Baylor,
I think it's going to be
Vanderbilt
Vanderbilt.
matchup. I'm doing this in real time in my head, to be honest with you. I think I'm going to go with the Bears. They've been a little inconsistent this year, but I think they'll have enough to get past the Commodores. And then I'm really interested to see how Virginia Tech does against Marshall's really unique style of play, but I think they'll have enough, even if Elizabeth Kitley doesn't play, to advance. Bottom of this region should be interesting. I got Syracuse and Deasia Fair advancing.
Yeah.
After beating Auburn, UConn,
Yeah.
taking down Jackson State. Duke has been playing really good basketball
They have.
the last few weeks, so I
Kara
think they
Lawson.
can get past Richmond without a problem. And then Ohio State taking down Maine. So let's now go to the second round. So South Carolina, UNC, that was a really tight game when they played the regular season, but I think South Carolina is going to have no issues taking down the Tar Heels once more to remain undefeated. We got 5-4, Oklahoma, Indiana. I think I'm going to go with Indiana, even though they've let me down some other times this year, but I think they have enough to make it to the Sweet 16. Nebraska, Oregon State, Beavers, Reagan Beers will have a big game here. And I love the defensive energy they play with. I think
Notre
that's going to
Dame.
get them pretty far. And then this is a tough one. I think Notre Dame will get past Ole Miss,
It'll be hard.
but I would not be surprised if this pick ends up wrong,
Yeah.
especially with Notre Dame's injury issues. We're going to go down now to this next part of the bracket. I got Texas. They're just going to be too much for Florida State.
Yep.
I think Utah's going to get it done against Gonzaga.
Maybe. Probably.
And then a really interesting 6-3 that I think NC State is going to do it. I think their offense will kind of get going again,
Yeah.
and they'll be able to advance.
Tennessee only has Rakia Jackson. Let's be real. It's like she's the main player for that team who's scoring the most, and NC State has way more offense.
To the Sweet 16. Stanford is going to be able to take down Iowa State. That youth will finally catch up to the Cyclones. And so now we can head back to... There we go. I talked about this on our bracketology show. I think this could be a potential upset watch, but
Yeah.
I'm still going to pick Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes to advance because she's going to be the best player on the floor, and that is oftentimes what you just need. Colorado, Kansas State. Colorado, to me, had a really good argument to host instead of Kansas State. I'm going to go with the Buffs here. I think their offense will finally get going again, even against a tough Kansas State team. What about this matchup? We have Haley Van Lith facing her former team. I'm going to go with the defending national champs in this one. And then UCLA, I think
Absolutely.
they're really national title contenders, so I have them advancing to the Sweet 16 as well. USC, again, Juju Watkins, but also let's not forget Mackenzie Forbes and co. They can get it done even when Juju isn't having her best game. I have them advancing past the first weekend of the tournament for the first time since 1994.
Oof.
Lisa Leslie was on that team. So Virginia Tech, Baylor. I think Virginia Tech is still going to advance to the Sweet 16, even without Elizabeth Kitley, because Georgia Amore is just that good and she'll put the team on her back. I got UConn taking down Syracuse. Syracuse could be tough, but UConn at home, I think you have to give them the edge.
I don't think so.
Ohio State, Duke, that could be a really fascinating one. But I'm going to go with the Buckeyes to go to the Sweet 16 once more. Let's mosey on back over here. South Carolina, Indiana. They just have too much depth. They have too many ways they can hurt you. They can score. They can defend. They're going to get to the Elite Eight once more. Oregon State. This is where I have Oregon State making a big name for themselves.
Yeah.
Going back to the Elite Eight. Scott Rook has gotten his teams there before. He's gone to a Final Four. This is a younger team, but I think
don't know.
they're going to be able to get it done, especially because of Notre Dame's injury issues and shorthanded nature. And then Texas.
Absolutely, Texas.
They're going to just the way that Vic Schaefer coaches them defensively, the way that their offense has been playing with Maddie Booker leading the charge, they're going to get past Utah, who's just doesn't have really enough weapons, I think. And then Stanford is going to advance past NC State. Kiki Iriafen, Cam Brink, going to be too much for the Wolfpack to handle. And then we're going to go back over to this side. And we got a rematch of the Sweet 16 from last year. I think this time, though, Iowa's going to advance again. Again, Iowa's just a little bit too good, but I think this will be tight. And then UCLA, LSU. I mean, this could be a Final Four game, but I'm going to pick the Bruins because I think they have more depth. LSU is a little bit shorthanded. We don't know what's going to happen with last year Poa, and Michaela Williams has been nursing a foot injury, so I'm just a little bit concerned about their depth. I have USC. This is where I think potentially if Elizabeth Kitley's not playing in the tournament, it's really going to come back to hurt them because USC just has so many different ways they can beat you with their defense, with the way that Juju can go off, and then all their players around her just complimenting her so well. Again, a Sweet 16 rematch here, UConn, Ohio State. But Paige Beckers will be the difference maker here, and they start 3 ball handlers. That was an issue that they had in that game last year, and it's not going to be as predominant. All right, now we got a 1-3 matchup here. Again, South Carolina. You can't pick against them. They haven't lost, and they've found a way to win each time they've been tested. Yeah. I don't think that's going to change, especially, again, Oregon State's a little bit young. They might be a year or 2 away from being able to go back to the Final Four. This one, a rematch of the 2022 Elite Eight, but, God, I'm going to go with Stanford because I think Cam Brink, she's going to be a lottery pick in a month, and she is going to lead that team back to the Final Four. Maddie Booker will be exceptional, but Texas is going to fall just a little short this year.
Yeah.
Iowa, UCLA. I can't believe only one of these teams will make it.
It's
but
UCLA.
I'm going to go with UCLA. I think they just have the complete package. They can defend. They have different ways to score. They got the inside presence of Lauren Betts. I think she's going to be too much for Iowa to handle. And then USC, UConn. I will be at this, whatever this game is in Portland, but if this is the one we get, I mean, that would be a matchup for the ages.
Pretty exciting.
I have UConn advancing, and it's really just because I think they have the edge and experience and being on that stage before.
I don't think
USC, though, I think they're going to be back if they can't make it over the hump, and Juju has such a bright future, but what a game that could be. All right, here we go. Final Four. We're in Cleveland, South Carolina, Stanford. Again, I just cannot pick against the Gamecocks here, and I think... Can I do that way? Yeah. I think Stanford, I'm a little concerned about because I think their guards have been inconsistent. I think that's going to come back to bite them at some point. And I think against a really tough guard group, on both ends of the floor of South Carolina, that's where it could be exposed a little bit. UCLA, UConn, this is actually a game that happened in November in the Cayman Islands. And I think UCLA is going to win once more. Again, they just have so many different ways to beat you. I think the backcourt duo of Charisma Osborne and Kiki Rice to go along with the inside presence of Lauren Betts. And then you have a shorthanded UConn team. They've had, I think, 6 players out for the year. So current count is just going to come back to doom them a little bit. And then we have our title game, South Carolina, UCLA, 1 versus 2. Again, I need to trust what my eyes are telling me. My eyes have told me South Carolina is the best team in the country. They have been all season. It's South Carolina's world, and everyone else is living in it, and they'll cut down the nets in Cleveland. So that's my bracket.
I like her bracket. It's pretty good. I would agree with a lot of those picks, not all of them, but I think that would be a really good matchup with UCLA and South Carolina at the end. I do want to check out the other person's bracket. She did a similar one too, so let's check out Autumn's bracket.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into it, starting over at the Albany 1 region, South Carolina. I feel like I'm going to be clicking this name a lot, advancing into the second round. Tough battle between North Carolina and Michigan State, but I'm going with the Tar Heels. Ooh, this one's going to be a shootout, but going with the sleeper team, FGCU. And then Indiana, we don't know the status of Mackenzie Holmes yet, but I have them moving forward.
Right away, I love Autumn. She's going quick. Technically, Alexa is not used to being on screen all the time. She's mostly a writer, and I guess she's transitioning to the screen because she was doing some on-air stuff last year too. But so she's not as practiced or familiar. Autumn has been on TV a lot more, so more used to touching the screen and stuff. So she's moving. Alexa was out of breath as she was talking, so she needs a little bit more practice with holding her breath, pacing herself while she talks and stuff. But anyway, loving these picks so far.
Let's keep it rolling. Moving on down, Nebraska making it to the Big Ten championship game versus Iowa. Double overtime. I think they're going to be okay to advance forward. Oregon State,
Yeah.
have them as a sleeper. Ole Miss advancing over Marquette. Notre Dame and Hannah Hidalgo we trust, so I'm moving them forward. And we move on. Texas.
Absolutely.
With the Texas fight going to the second round, I have Florida State, Tanaya Latson taking on her first NCAA tournament. Seeing her doing some chaos in this one. Utah, South Dakota State. I'm going with Utah because Alyssa Peely in her last ride is going to be sensational and one to watch. The Zags, they've been ranked this season, and I have them going up against Utah. They've faced Pac-12 teams all season long. We'll see how that one fares out when I get back to it. Tennessee, I feel like I'm going to be clicking this name too a lot. I'm big on the Bulls as of late. NC State making it to the ACC championship game. I have them moving forward.
Yep.
Iowa State, Maryland. This one I struggled with, but I'm going to go with Audie Crooks and what she's been able to do in her freshman year to advance over Maryland. Stanford taking down Norfolk State. They'll move on. Let's head on over
no one believes
to
in Maryland.
Albany
I think
2.
they're
This one's going to be a tough one for me because this is a gauntlet over here. But the number one offense, second round, there's no surprise there. Ooh, this one is also one of my sleeper picks when we look at Princeton's defense. Colorado taking down Drake. And then K-State moves forward for me. Ayoka Lee has not shied away from her last ride. All-American type player. I think she's going to do numbers in this tournament.
Yeah, I agree with those.
As we move on, Jeff Walsh knows what to do with this squad when it comes to Final Fours. He'll be able to coach this team moving forward. Same with Kim Mulkey, trying to run it back as the defending national champs. This one with Creighton's going to be a shootout, but I have UNLV as my sleeper pick. Moving on with the upsets. You got to have some upsets. It's March. Come on. UCLA with the inside-out attack.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see how that fares out as we move on to one of the toughest brackets that we have over here. But Fear the Bun, Juju Watkins in her first year.
Fear the Bun.
I'm telling y'all, she's going to be a star to watch as she's been all season. Kansas moving on with Hannah Jackson. Twin, where have you been? We're going to see her take on Juju possibly. Baylor taking down Vanderbilt.
I don't think so.
And then Virginia Tech, we don't know the status of Kitley just yet, but I'm going to make sure that they get into this advancement. Going on to Baylor with Georgia Amore. We'll see how Kitley comes in. All right, this I struggle with because this can also be a sleeper pick when you look at Auburn being a first four team.
Auburn.
They'll have momentum.
Wow.
I have them taking down Syracuse with another upset, but UConn getting the job done. They know how to be a championship team. Yes, they do. Taking on Auburn. Duke with the defense moves my second round. The Buckeyes, that press is scary. Yeah. That's going to be a defensive nightmare, but we'll get to it. All right, second round. Woo, this is where it gets tricky. Is this deja vu with Deja Kelly taking on South Carolina? Yes, it is. But as I mentioned, I'm going to keep clicking this South Carolina name constantly. FGCU, I think the Cinderella story ends here. No. The clock will strike midnight with Mackenzie Holmes.
Yeah, probably.
Inside, Nebraska and Oregon State. I mentioned that sleeper. Going over to Sweet 16 for me. And then Notre Dame, I love what they're doing with Hannah Hidalgo. Yeah. We'll see how the injuries play out, but I think she is not shying away from the moment in her freshman year. All right, moving on down. Texas, Vic Schaefer knows what to do when it's with a deep run for his team. Utah, Zags. Woo.
It's hard.
All right. I'm going to go with Alyssa Peely.
Yeah.
Banking down low, getting the best of that matchup with Yvonne.
We'll see what the Lynn sisters do in Gonzaga, though.
Tennessee, I'm staying high with the Bulls. I'm going to keep going all in on them. I think the veteran leadership of Cam Brink gets the best of Audie Crooks. All right, this is shaking out pretty nicely. Let's keep this thing moving. Defense versus offense. I know defense wins championships, but come on. Caitlin Clark, Sweet 16. All right, Colorado, K-State. I know this is a tricky one. We could see two possible matchups when it comes to Iowa. But when the game's on the line, I'm trusting in Jalen Sherrod.
Yeah.
Louisville, LSU. Let's go with the defending national champs once again. And this is going to be a tough battle, but inside-outside presence of UCLA is undeniable. You can't really contain it. As we move down, let's see who's going into the Sweet 16. I have Kansas ending right there, and Virginia Tech continue to move on. Not sure of the status, but I'm going to trust that they can get past Baylor.
I agree.
UConn and their experience will take them to the Sweet 16 with Paige Buckets and Aaliyah Edwards. Defensive matchup, we can see Celeste Taylor take on her former team. And I'm going to have them get the best of that matchup. Whew, is that deja vu as well? We're probably going to get a rematch. We'll get back to that. Let's go to our Sweet 16. And this matchup is looking too sweet for the Gamecocks. I mean, should we just keep clicking? Oregon State, I'm going to keep... Oh, actually, this is where I stopped believing in the Beavers. Notre Dame, moving forward. Texas defense, moving forward. Tennessee, that length, I think it's going to be too much.
Oh.
And the X factors will...
That's way different than from Alexa. I love this. I love this take. These are good.
Will be the guards as we continue to move on to the Sweet 16 over here. Am I doing this right? Okay, Iowa. Let's see, Iowa, Colorado. Still going with Caitlin Clark, taking this team all the way for a possible rematch of the championship we saw last year. And I think this is where Virginia Tech ends. They continue the dance when it comes to the Trojans and making history. And I got an upset alert. 2 taking down 3, not really an upset, but a lot of people don't think Ohio State can take down UConn. I think that press is undeniable.
Thank you, Autumn. I think so too. I don't think UConn's that good.
And the injuries and death worry me for UConn, so I have them ending right there to face USC. Now let's go ahead and dive into my Elite 8, the #1 team. Showing its dominance, going to the Final Four. Also, I think Texas meets them when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
On the other side, I have LSU taking down Iowa, a 3 seed will get back to the Final Four. Then I think the press taking on USC and that first-year leadership coming from Juju Watkins, I think the experience is going to shine for Ohio State, who've been to the Elite 8. They will advance forward. Now for my Final Four, we got a mix of 1 seeds, 3 seeds, 2 seeds. South Carolina, this is familiar territory, and same thing goes for the Tigers. But when it's all said and done for the championship game, I think this is kind of already obvious that my champion is South Carolina.
That would be a crazy
the #1 team in the country from start to finish. They have defense, they have rebounding, and they have an elevated offense that is unmatched with anyone in the country. That's my March Madness bracket.
Nice. I really like Autumn's picks. Those are definitely things that I would pick as well. And it would be amazing to see South Carolina and LSU in the championship game and a rematch of the SEC final. If that happens, I know that they're going to have the refs be a lot more tight on calling the game and making it chill. And that actually is going to work in South Carolina's favor because they play more clean. LSU, they play a little dirty, just a little bit. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope that happens. So yeah, all right, really excited. Can't wait to do another video and reacting to all this stuff. See you in the next one. Bye.